Hi, I'm Robert Downs, author of Bicycle Hobo and many other fine books. Here's a lowdown on a 6-day bicycle tour through the wilderness of fabulous Newfoundland, Canada, all the way to the Viking settlement at Meadows. This is a 450-mile ride through some of the most beautiful scenery in North America, camping all the way. It's not an easy ride because it runs along what is called the Long Range, which is a continuation of the Appalachian mountain chain. But if a softie like me can do it, so can you. Here's our route from the southern end of Newfoundland to the far north. Coming up is a look at my bike. It's a customized 520 Trek touring bike, which I've outfitted with a big 8-inch wide snowmobile mirror and extra wide tires. It can rain a lot in Newfoundland, so make sure all of your gear is completely watertight. To get there, you take the ferry from North Sydney in Nova Scotia, and you're pretty much in the wilderness from the get-go. There aren't many stores or restaurants, and the campgrounds are far apart. There are no bicycle stores whatsoever and very little public transportation, so be prepared to self-rescue. The first day is a long ride. It's 96 miles from the port to Barishaw Pond Provincial Park. Like an idiot, I rode an extra 20 miles out of my way, so I was dead tired by the time I made camp. Turns out there's a lot of moose in Newfoundland, and I got a visitor just 40 feet from my campsite on my very first night. The next day you ride about 60 miles to Deer Lake and the beginning of the world-famous Viking Trail, which takes you all the way to the northern tip of Newfoundland, where you can find polar bears in the spring and Iceberg Alley that sank the Titanic. The third day is only 43 miles to Rocky Harbor, but unfortunately this is also the toughest part of the whole tour because you have to cross the mountains of Gros Morne National Park. And remember, this is a continuation of the Appalachian mountain chain. I did a lot of walking along this stretch, pushing my bike up some very steep slopes and enjoying some screaming downhills. That's me down in the lower left-hand corner of this photo by Anthony Dillon, and you can see I was pretty happy to get past this mountain range and on north along the coastal road. Once you leave Rocky Harbor, you're on a very pleasant ride along the St. Lawrence Seaway. And the good news is that there's likely to be a very strong wind at your back as you ride north. I almost felt like I was riding a motorcycle. The bad news is there's very few campsites along this coast. I found a nice one at a town called River of Ponds. The next day, however, I had to stealth camp at a rest area just east of Eddy's Cove. Your other option is to try finding an Airbnb along the coast. Finally, you're on the home stretch of the Viking Trail to the very tip of Newfoundland. 1,000 years ago, Leif Erikson sailed from Greenland with a band of Vikings to establish a settlement here, and you can still see the ruins. It didn't last long, the Indians chased him away, but it was the first known settlement of Europeans in the Americas, almost 500 years before Columbus arrived, and it's a real thrill to visit. Hey, that's me at the end of the road, riding more than 5,000 miles from Seattle to the northern tip of Newfoundland. But that's another story for another YouTube. Me again, and I know you're going to have a great time if you decide to bike tour Newfoundland. While you're at it, please consider checking out my book, Bicycle Hobo. It's a thriller about the bike touring lifestyle that's getting 5 stars on Amazon from bicyclists everywhere. It's sort of a mashup of Moby Dick, Don Quixote, and Wolf Creek. It's available at Amazon.com and on my website, robertdowns.com. Well, I hope you have some great rides out there, and I hope to see you out on the road. Happy trails. You can see some of my other books and advice on where to stay and how to get to and from Newfoundland on my website at robertdowns.com.